بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وإمام المرسلين سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome to this final section of the read-through of the Contemplating Quran, the thematic commentary on the 30 ajza, or the 30 parts of the Holy Quran, written by Shaykh Ahmad Sa'ad, which we have been reading each night through these nights of Ramadan. Inshallah, now we come to the last part, 30th juz of the Quran, from Surah Al-Naba, that is to say, Amma Yatasa'alun, to the end of the Quran, Surah Al-Nas. The theme of this juz, this final juz, is the message, the approaching hour, and the ascent of man. This juz commences with a rhetorical question about questioning, one that disavows those who disavow the coming resurrection and mockingly call for it to be hastened. God invites them to wait until it occurs, when its reality will be revealed to them, and mankind will be divided into two groups, each one encountering the consequence of their actions, either everlasting bliss or an eternity in hellfire. In this chapter, we find a directive to ask beneficial questions and guidance towards two of the many paths to acquiring knowledge, one being practical advice regarding diligent observation of nature, and the other being by way of analogy and imagination. Surah Al-Nazi'at continues this theme, emphasizing the utter consternation of those who deny the resurrection when it actually befalls. They will encounter naught but the harvest of what they reaped, and will regret eternally when finally their eyes open. Surah Abasa holds off on discussing the nature of prophethood and exposing the lies of those who disbelieve in it, until it too makes mention of the approaching hour, which it names as-sakha, that which will shatter eardrums, deafening them to the cries of their brothers, children, spouses, and parents. For on that day, a person will be oblivious to all but their own state. Surah Al-Takwir connects this state of affairs to the tremendous upturning of nature that all creation will experience, the sun's furnace being extinguished, the immovable mountains being uprooted and scattered, those long dead being resurrected, and so forth, all as a prelude to this great gathering and standing before God. Similarly, in Surah Al-Infitar, we see the heavens, previously placid, being violently torn asunder, the stars, previously fixed in their constellations, being scattered hither and thither, and the burial places casting forth their inhabitants. All of creation will thus find itself in an entirely disordered state of affairs as they stand ready for the establishment of the scales of balance on a day when true justice will be done, the wicked bound to Sijjin, the righteous raised to Illiyin. Such is the spectacle witnessed in Surah Al-Inshiqaq. We behold the righteous in a state of joy and happiness, whilst the unrighteous are cast into a blazing fire, pleading for their own destruction. Surah Al-Buruj gives a grave admonition about both arrogantly turning away from the truth and hindering others from it, preferring the example of the people of the trench, whom God destroyed and promised a fiery punishment in recompense for their similar immolation of the believers. The following chapters continue to lay bare for us the nature of man and his destiny, that he is on a return journey to his Lord, before whom he will have neither strength nor assistance, as described in Surah Al-Tariq. As Surah Al-A'la clarifies the true nature of the message, as well as the means of benefiting from it, through veneration and humility, with the result that the status of man is elevated in this world and on the Day of Judgment, in eternal gardens, as described in Surah Al-Ghashiyah. Surah Al-Fajr proceeds to deliver a warning against following the ways of such evildoers as the folk of Iram, Thamud, Fir'aun, and their like, exhorting them instead to walk in the footsteps of the righteous, that people might witness the end result of their actions on the Day of Judgment and enter the garden in a state of utter tranquility, well-pleasing and well-pleased. Surah Al-Balad makes it clear that it is God who shows people paths of goodness and evil, and gives them ownership of the faculty of reflection, such that they will be questioned about their choices in the final reckoning of matters. It also clarifies that which will assist a person in choosing the right way. What is that? Purification and cleansing of the soul from all manner of impurities and ailments, as further explained in the opening verses of Surah Al-Shams, which together comprise the most extensive oath sworn by God in the Quran. Surah Al-Duha, Inshirah, Al-Tin, and Alaq inform of the noble messenger whom God selected, who he nurtured under his loving gaze, and whose breast he expanded. He brought him forth in the most perfect of models within a secure land, taught him and made him the means of his delivery of the message, one of knowledge and recitation. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The chapters Al-Qadr and Al-Bayyinah tell us of the reality of this message, which descended in its entirety on the night of power. It is of tremendous rank, for it is an exhaustive compendium of God's commandments and his guidance. They further inform that the disbelievers and the people of the book will persist in their rejection of it and their disbelief of the Messenger ﷺ, who came to them reciting scriptures pure and holy. The Surah Al-Zalzala, Adiyat, Al-Qari'ah, and At-Takathur return to the theme of the manifestation of the realities of all things that will occur on the Day of Judgment. The remaining chapters of this part devote themselves to explaining some of the factors that prevent man from attaining deliverance for his own soul. These include falling into sin, greed for wealth and status, becoming distracted with one's appetites, and a lack of willingness to sacrifice, whether materially or metaphorically, as explained in Surah Al-Asr, Al-Humaza, Al-Fil, Quraysh, and Al-Ma'un. Finally, the chapters Al-Kawthar and Al-Nasr give glad tidings of triumph and the attainment of great good, commanding man to hold fast to God and adhere to the affirmation of his oneness, as per Surah Al-Ikhlas, while seeking protection with God from the evil of every evildoer and the schemes of every plotter. I'll now read the epilogue of this book. Shaykh Ahmad said, "Praise be to God, who made this Quran easy to remember and liberated pure contemplation from the chains of ignorance, that the light of revelation might connect with the light of understanding deposited by divine power in minds, facilitating for this incapable human being the understanding of some aspects of revelation, that they might internalize part of the everlasting miracle granted to the best of creation, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And may peace and blessings ever be on the one to whom God unveiled the secrets of the book, and whom he addressed with the most noble of honorifics, our Master Muhammad, his family and companions. Indeed, God most generous facilitated, through his ever-unfolding magnanimity and pure divine grace, the composition of these reflections on the themes of the chapters of the Quran during my stay, Shaykh Ahmad says, in the city of Toronto, Canada, in the blessed month of Ramadan 1436, which was June to July 2015. Initially, they were delivered as a preparatory introduction to the nightly Taraweeh prayer. Later, they were edited, expanded on, and rearranged in order to be published for the benefit of the wider Muslim and non-Muslim community. I believe that the Quran is a book that should be accessible to the whole of humanity. While the role of its scholars remains the same, that is to say, interpreting its meanings and extracting its subtleties, lay people can still sip from its sweet fountain and enjoy the message. The latter, however, should refer back to scholars in case they come across an ambiguous or perplexing text in order to have a clearer understanding of what God wants from them. With this in mind, I pray that God gives benefit to the readers and helps them to turn these themes into actions. I turn to him for acceptance and salvation." Upon completion of these reflections, Shaykh Ahmad wrote some lines of Arabic poetry, which my daughter Nur Nisa, the co-translator of this work, translated into metered English poetry. "Within this blessed month I kept the great reminders company. My ignorance it did erase, and to the straight path guided me. And when I deeply did reflect, my heart prepared in purity, the meanings came to me to spread their benefit tremendously, to guide the people that they may use reasoned thought discerningly, extracting light as they can find, to cure their hearts of malady. On he whose miracle remains, God's blessings pour eternally. Send grace on Ahmad, gracious Lord, the guide, and all his family." Jazakumullah khair for accompanying me through this month of Ramadan. and this read-through of this wonderful work, which really opens up the whole of the Quran to us. May Allah raise its author in ranks. May He increase him in goodness and preserve him from all harm. May He preserve his family and his friends, and may Allah unite you and me with the righteous that have come before us and that will come after us, under the banner of our Master Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the Day of Judgment, and in the everlasting gardens of paradise. I ask that you remember especially my Shaykh Hazrat Ghulam Muhyiddin Qazi, who passed away 2 years ago, and whose spiritual support and du'as I have been relying on to accomplish whatever I have accomplished in my life. Please also ask Allah forgive me, my parents, my family, and all of the believers, and that He give them ease and respite. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatihi ya arhamar rahimin. For the last time this Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.